back at home. Just like that. Boom. What was I gone? 5 days or something? My sunglasses fell in the water. It was blazing sun off the water, and that white hull above my eyeballs feel like they've been sandblasted. Or whatever. And it was a lot of fun yesterday. Michael from Alberta, one of our gang here, rolls the dice, flies all the way out to Vancouver Island from Edmonton, rents a van to drive in the logging road, gets jammed up in the highway blockage we had because of a forest fire. This is all the day before. He's supposed to be at the dock at 5:30 in the morning meeting me for his pre-booked fishing trip. Doesn't bring anybody else. Where normally you can share the cost of a fishing charter with a few people. Still the same cost. It's just me and the boat and the gear, the bait, and fuel for a flat rate, right? Nope. He's coming alone. Second time. And then last year it was quite windy. We couldn't get on the halibut spots or anything, and he got some fish. Lost a couple of big ones, and we sent him home with a bunch of halibut we had in the freezer though too, to make up for to make sure he had enough fish to bring home. So anyway, the day yesterday was incredible. Flat, calm water, no clouds, sunshine, no wind. Bam! Gets his limit of beauty salmon first thing in the morning. You're allowed 2 Chinook salmon each per day, and for one day, I think he caught altogether 6 salmon. I think he caught 8 different species of fish. Caught fish all frickin' day long, and then we ripped out offshore, threw the anchor out, threw the gear down. Bam! Got him a real nice halibut. I forget what it was, how big it was. 35. We thought it was 40. It was a good fish. Anyway, he was tickled pink. That was his goal, was to get that big halibut, and he got it. And then went back in to shore and farted around, watched whales, and caught more fish and let him go, and had a lot of fun. So it was really good. But anyway, my day started at 4 o'clock yesterday morning, and then I came home to a house full of kids. Little kids everywhere. Teenagers everywhere, people everywhere. Lots of fun. It's so hot, it's stupid. But anyway, gotta get some voices heard, and I gotta get knowledge shared. The audio on the boat kind of sucks for me. I don't like that. It sounds like you're talking in a hallway on the boat. I guess there's no way out of it, but it works though, right? I have to go back there tomorrow night. Anyway, so quick note. I'm going to share with you guys something that I feel is worthy of sharing. I think the world should know. I was talking to a friend of mine, and what shall I say? Who he is. I have to keep his identity off of here for obvious reasons, because let's just say some of his fellow co-workers are Canadian generals. All right? That's what he told me, flat out. Because the people in the military, they can't talk on their phones, they can't text, they can't email, they can't do nothing once they get up to a certain level where this man is, a very certain level. But we got to have a face-to-face, good, great conversation, and I respect him a lot. He told me that Canada lost 4 generals, wasn't really very public, during the time that the nasty evil powers that be, while they controlled our government, whatever's going on. Remember when everybody was trying to get one of these forced into your body? Right? 4 generals said, not a chance, you're not sticking that needle in me. Guess what the Canadian government did to them? They needed to figure out how to get rid of them then. So they brought them up on sexual, what's it called? Sexual harassment? No. Sexual, some kind of, they came up with a bogus sexual harassment? Oh man, sorry, I'm just woken up, you guys, it's early in the morning. Anyways, they brought him up on sex charges. Sexual harassment charges, whatever it was. Sexual misconduct. There's the word I'm after, sorry. They charged them all with sexual misconduct and got rid of them. That's fact straight from the pipe. And apparently one of them, hopefully all of them, but I think he said one of them or both of them are successfully suing the Canadian government for defamation of character. Millions. Now, my question with this is, who is it? Like, I was talking to him, I'm like, there must be a lot of you people, meaning military, are absolutely frustrated. And listening to somebody in military vent about what's going on at what's called the top is quite alarming. It's quite alarming. And I asked him, I said, could all you imagine? Remember, I'm just talking to my friends here. We're all friends. I'm just sitting at the coffee table, you guys talking, right? That's how I carry myself when I'm sitting here. I said to him, I go, if I was one of those generals, I would go at it like a ruthless, relentless wolf, whatever. And I would dig and dig and dig until I found the very first person that came up with the words sexual misconduct when somebody would not take an unproven, untested mandatory blast in their body. I would find that person. We'll leave it there, but I would find that person. I would dig until I found the original one who said, all right, they're not going to do it. They're a general. They've done so much good for this country, their whole careers, all their lives. Let's waste them with sexual misconduct then. Yeah. Who was the first one sitting in that board meeting, whatever they're doing, wherever they are, come up with that sentence right there? Who was it? Right? I would like to think that the entire country would want to find that person. Right? Go to the source. Straighten it out. Anyway, that topic gets me fired up pretty good. It's a topic a lot of people probably don't want to hear about, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about and it can't go away. Anyway, we had good conversation about a lot of things. And everybody's in amazement of what's going on in the world today. Everyone is in amazement of what's going on in the world today, shaking their head like, what is going on? And everybody's saying it's got to come. It does have to come to a head, right? Something's got to come to a head. Something. Anyway, that was fresh off the. That was a conversation I had before going to bed. So I woke up going like this still. I got to share with all you guys. But anyway, let me get a couple more sips of this go juice in me. And find some very important voices to be heard. And then I have to get caught up. I'm behind on a million emails. I'm behind on a million texts. I'm behind on everything when it comes to it. I get so much. There's nothing I can do about it. It's very frustrating. So many people trying to communicate with me. So many things I need to do and communicate back with people. And it's so hard because I give a shit. I care. I give a shit. That's the frustrating part. If I didn't give a shit, well, I wouldn't even be talking about it. But I have to get caught up. Even my NDA, which all of the contributors to Melba Ketchum's GoFundMe, I haven't even got that signed in fact stuff. I told her before I went fishing on this last week, I said, yeah, I got this. I'll get it to you today. And then I left, and then I realized, oh shit, I didn't get it scanned. Sarah did get it scanned for me and my email. So I'm gonna get that done today too. There's nothing I'm not behind in. And I'm sure people out there might think they are getting disrespected or something because I'm not answering. I just haven't either got your message, got your text, or haven't been able to reply yet, but I'm going to. Alright? Sometimes I envy these people, like when I hear the Sean Ryan podcast, right here, he's got a team of 5 people. A team of 5 people it takes to get him to sit in a room and talk to somebody. 5. Man, the shit I could get done with 5 people. Team of 5 people, right? I don't know. Should we do that, you guys? Should we go that extra distance? Should we really get this thing ripping? What do you think? I just don't know the ins and outs of how to do that yet. I'm sure I could. It needs all time, right? Oh, sorry. One more topic I'm going to drop on everybody here. Now listen to this. There's a lot of channels out there, probably every single one of them, they have sponsorship money, right? Sponsorship. They promote products. And they'll read off, you've all heard them, they'll read off whatever. There's some gold place that seems to be common. A lot of podcasts are pushing something gold, place to invest in gold, and everybody's reading off that in their video when they're talking to everybody. Whatever, all kinds of different products. And I remember I said out loud that I needed to get a power source to power my internet and my laptop when I go into the middle of frickin' nowhere this year. Well, the company emailed me, and they have some kind of power source. They build these things. I use some kind, all different sizes of units for being in the middle of nowhere, or even rural homes or camps or whatever. And they emailed me to ask me if I wanted to collaborate, and they give me one of these things, and then I would have to integrate these videos into my videos here to you guys, right? Promote the product. And then there's some kind of a code in case you want to buy one. So, I've never done it before, and just so you guys know, I probably receive, I don't know, because I look at it as garbage mail, because I just go past it in my inbox, but I probably receive maybe, I don't know, 10, 20 offer emails to collaborate and promote products on this channel to you guys a week, easily. I've never replied to one, just so you know. But anyway, I'm thinking, so I emailed them back, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess why not? Why not? Because if it is a good thing, why would I not do it? And they said that they would offer me up one of these units for free, and they're worth a few bucks. So if that is an answer to my problem, which I haven't figured out yet, is to get power source to the internet, to my laptop while in the middle of nowhere, so I can share live with you guys and keep this ball going and show. I mean, that'd be crazy. I don't know if anybody's ever done that. Live streamed from the middle of frickin' nowhere on one of those epic places on the planet. That needs to be done. So what do you guys think? Should I do this? But what it means is that you guys are going to have to hear me or see a video promoting the product in these videos. Maybe one or so. I don't know. I even know how many. But I emailed them back, and I said, okay, well, this is what I need to do. I need to power this, power that, recharge video cameras, recharge GPS. And they emailed me back again. It was legit. And they said, yeah, well, we've already watched your channel. That's why we really would love to collaborate with you and your audience. And they said, we have a Canadian warehouse, and we'll ship you this one. This is the one we suggest. Let us know what you think. And I haven't replied to them yet, so I'm dropping on you guys, because we're all big family friends here, right? So there. I'm thinking I'm going to do it. I will try to read the comment section in this video after this, so you guys let me know your thoughts. I think they wanted a 6-minute video or something, but I'm not doing that. I don't give a shit who it is. I'm not going to sit here and talk 6 minutes about some stupid product. I shouldn't say that. Any product. And I know a bunch of you are probably going, well, you just babbled for 15 minutes. Right? I know. I'm babbling right now. There you go. Tell me what you think. Should I collaborate with this product, this energy power source, this power source for my remote camp? It just means I have to put a video for it in here. All right. So it's kind of funny. I wonder how many channel hosts ask their subscribers if it's okay if they collaborate with a product or not. Holy shit! I'm babbling. I just woke up. I'm behind about a month and a half in sleep. And now it's time to get to the important voices, which is the people. And don't forget what I shared to you about the Canadian military, and if you feel so, share that information with somebody who might want to hear it, because it's very important to talk about this shit. Alright, what do we got here? We got a screenshot. Sometimes people send me screenshots of comments from underneath the video on YouTube. Yeah, listen to this. Here's a screenshot from Brian Lindsay. Posted this. Steve, your program is riveting. Keeps you on the edge of your seat wanting more. I have experienced an encounter as several of my friends and acquaintances in my surrounding community have. I've lived in a special place in eastern Oregon called Hell's Canyon and Wallowa Mountains area since 1975 when I was 16 years old. I'm now approaching 62 years of age. I have logged the woods and hunted this area ever since. There was a lot of activity in this area in the 80s and 90s, sightings and encounters, from good, reputable, good people and friends during this time. When we as people in the community talked or mentioned our experiences with other locals, we were of course laughed at and ridiculed. I was kicked off of a website that was supposedly interested and welcomed stories about Bigfoot in the Northwest for commenting about a story that someone told about a good friend of mine. I thought, screw you guys. I was just trying to clear up some inconsistencies in the story that was being shared, as there was some disinformation about the encounter. Anyhow, as a good successful hunter and outdoor enthusiast, I have noticed a decline in stories and encounters of these beings in this particular area since the late 90s. That's interesting. Most of the activity now seems to be north of us, around the Enterprise area. North into Washington State, throughout the Blue Mountains. I'm wondering why the activity of these beings has shifted out of our area and farther north. Is it past wildfires? Is it human activity, which in my opinion hasn't increased that much in this area, as it is pretty vast? God knows it's not from declined habitat, as Oregon doesn't log shit anymore in this state. Really? No way. I didn't know that. Anyway, feel free to comment and or use my name if shared. Maybe you'll get some of my buddies and people in the community to share their experiences they've had that didn't have a platform in which to do so. Thanks for all you do, Steve, for bringing this topic to light. All right. I don't know. I really am not the guy to ask about what they may do with their activity patterns here on the planet. I wouldn't have a clue, man. I don't know. Yeah, I do know, I remember Dave told me he went up to where Ron Moorhead recorded those Sierra sounds, and there's mass wildfire up there. But guess what? There was a patch of timber that didn't burn, and that was where they had their camp, and that's where they interacted with these beings. Didn't burn. Crazy, right? But I don't know. Who knows why they randomly show up here or there or not anymore? Because think about, how about this one? How many people have we heard from who have say, quote, I've hunted this valley all of my life for 40-something years and never see anything like this, and then one day, end quote, right? Or how many times we heard about people, we lived in this ranch, we worked this ranch, my parents worked this ranch, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents, and nobody ever saw or heard of anything like this, and next thing you know, it's standing there in our pasture looking at us. Random, right? So, why were there no sightings or activity in those generations before that day? I don't know. And could have been a wildfire not too far from there before things started happening on the property? Maybe, I don't know. I haven't a clue. So there you go. That's not for a confusing answer, man. I don't know. From what I understand and what we've had shared with us, I do not know how a forest fire could affect these beings, these people, from being anywhere. I don't know. Does somebody have that information? I think possibly, and will I be hearing that information quite soon? I'm pretty confident I will be. So, but I'll keep you posted with whatever I can share through me to you as time comes, as time passes here. But I do know that people who know a lot more than me are planning on sharing everything they got with all of you. What a confusing morning this is, probably for a lot of listeners. I hope it's not too confusing. Now, let's get back to hearing some important voices. I've been babbling like a complete idiot this morning. Sorry. First time, I was 12 and our family traveled a lot. We were staying in the Washington Mountains, Wenatchee National Forest, doing our after-supper chorus, taking the dishes to the river to wash, my sister and I chit-chatting. I happened to look up, and there was something watching us while it was walking away. It was gray in color. Not a solid gray either, a bit white. At first, it didn't dawn on me. Then my sister and I ran back to the campsite scared, and we left the dishes at the river. We told our mom. She laughed about it. You guys are just seeing things. But later said, I believe you girls. I know I didn't sleep well thinking it's out there. I told this story to others. Same, said it was a bear or a mountain man, whatever. We saw, what we saw, it was a Bigfoot. Much later, we had to go into town for some supplies. Mom and her boyfriend hid some stuff in the woods and covered it with tarps. We had unexpected car trouble that left us in the town of Wenatchee for a while. When we were able to make it back to camp, we went to get the stuff left behind. It had been looked through. The TV had a broken screen. The screen itself. Everything else is okay. And some other stuff scattered around the area. We didn't stay long after that. Thank you, Steve, for telling me great stories. Sincerely, Mel. All right. Thanks, Mel. Thanks for the area location. What happened? I wonder what's up with the hatred for the TVs. Can't really blame them, I guess, right? They probably realize nothing good comes from that screen. I'm guessing. Well, previously, before people got to have a voice on the screen whenever they felt like it. Alright, what's this one? Excuse me. These are recent. This is recent. Bigfoot is listening to you. It's the title of this email. No doubt. Greetings. I've been listening to your channel a lot lately and enjoy the stories. But I've been thinking. I bet the word about your channel has traveled so much that it has gotten to Bigfoot himself. I have a feeling you're a hit with them, and when they see you coming out to their world to sit down on a stump to read people's stories about themselves, that they creep down the mountains in herds and sit down behind large trees and boulders and listen in on your stories while enjoying a little mountain snack. Excuse me. They'd be like, yep, that was me that day throwing rocks, or, yeah, that was my cousin who screamed at that hunter from inside his cave, or even, man, do we really stink that bad? I had no idea. There you go. You never know. Well, we do know. Yeah, they do. I've been listened to 100% for sure. I've been watched 100% for sure. I've had shit thrown at me 100% for sure. And that's all I need to happen to me while I'm out in the middle of nowhere sharing the voices. This title, Follow Up and More to Share. Hi family, it's Lori Harris from Virginia. I first wrote in about seeing not one but two hairy giants at my sister's farm. Since that time, I've been trying to convince my family about their existence around our area. I have 4 older sisters, 3 of which live within a 5-mile radius of me. My son lives about a mile from the farm where I had my sighting. That being said, things are happening around our houses. I stayed at my son's house to babysit my 2 grand puppies for 5 days. Steve, I was scared, I'll tell you. Staying there at my son's, I could look across the fields and see the start of my sister's property. I knew they were there. The feeling of being watched freaked me out. The first night went with nothing out of the ordinary. The second night I noticed a whistle from the woods and later a smack in the house. I asked my son if anything weird happened at his house, and he said that his wife was out walking the dogs and heard a laughing. They also had something trying to open their back storm door in the middle of the night. He said the dogs wouldn't come out. These 2 dogs are big. One is a Staffordshire Terrier and the other a Great Pyrenees. He said he couldn't see anything but black hair, and his head was above the door. Basically, the torso was what he saw. I had warned him about the hairy men, and he didn't believe, he does now. Grabbing a shotgun, he told it he would kill it if it tried to come in, and it left. My sister, who has the farm, saw a red glowing orb in the pasture one night last week, around October 24th. She drove to the area where she saw it, and it disappeared. She built a big barn for her horses. One night something pushed the main beam up, it cracked. The height of this barn is like 10 foot or more. She also didn't believe me, stating the bear thing. I have experienced these beings around my house, as I told you in my last text. I have structures and footprints around here. The other night my camper was pushed. I yelled at it and was left alone for the rest of the night. I have a piece of a puzzle, but don't know how it fits. I noticed that after I meditate and clear my mind, I experience some action from them. Something about vibrations attracts them. Think about it. Most people are doing something they love when they see these beings. Your vibration is high. It fits somewhere, but I don't know where. thank you for listening, and advice too. If y'all are near Virginia, just know you have a safe place to stay if ever needed. Lori, appreciate you. Thank you so much for that kind offer. And I believe you may be onto something there, because not too many people have wrote in and stated that about doing what you love. Your vibration's higher. Boom. You never know. You never know. It's something to ponder. Also shows that your mind's churning and digging, which is good, right? Everybody's digging and thinking. Vibration definitely has something to do with our existence, without a doubt. It doesn't take much to show what vibration does. Have you ever gone into a stadium to watch a huge fight or a concert? Music, right? Music is huge. It gives us goosebumps. We get goosebumps in our arms just from music, just from a voice, right? Vibration. Our vibration is a very, very real thing. Very real thing. Cooge. Cooge again. Our law enforcement kick-ass officer from the East is titled 192 MHZ Knock at the Door. Steve Cujo here, just a quick follow-up. I tried to post the app info in comments section for your episode twice, but nothing ever posted. Also, people in there are saying it was a 162 megahertz, MHZ, megahertz, is that what it is? Not 192. What's up with that? Purposely misdirecting? More, quote, don't look there, look over here, end quote. Bullshit? If it is, F them. First off, it was definitely 192 megahertz. Anyone can watch the episode to verify. Season 4, episode 10, the app I used was, quote, frequency sound generator, end quote, from Lux Deluxe. One word, Luxdelux. Free on Google Play. Screenshot of what the icon looks like. Attached. Don't know why my comments didn't post, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are intentionally removed by an outside 3-letter government agency, Cujo. There you go. See that? I hope you can see that. I think you guys can see that. But that's the app that he had when he changed. I gotta think back to that email, Cujo. It wasn't that long ago. Was that a couple weeks ago? Yeah, you changed that sound frequency and something came blasting back at you immediately, annoyed from a certain area or something, right? Sorry, man. See, if I had a team of 5 people, then people would just dig back in your email right away and have the exact quote to share, right? Alright, thanks for that, man. Appreciate you. Hope you're safe over there. Stay in touch. Don't go away from us. Okay, what's this one? Lots of short ones this morning. Puzzle may be getting bigger. It's the title of this email. Steve, I've been learning more about these beings from the round table. My puzzle is not that these beings exist. We know they do. But if there is more than one type, it makes sense that there is. Listening to all the experiences, it looks to me like some have been bad encounters, but most have been good. I myself have had many encounters and only one was not good. You read that one earlier this year in 2023. So, are they more like humans than we think? Meaning, do they have different races like people? As far as why we're being lied to, if the government was to come forward with this to the people, then the sheeple would start to question what else is being kept from them. Thanks for all you do. You can use my name. I'm 49. I don't give a rat's ass about what people think of me. Kenneth Cantor, Senior U.S. Army Veteran. Sir, thank you so much for emailing. Yeah, man. Without a doubt. At this stage of the game, you realize how ridiculous it would sound for one human being that accepted these truths that's going on in the real world today around us. If you accept that as fact, but then you can also at the same time dictate that there isn't anything else. Said no one ever, right? Our existence is a mystery at this point. I said it from day one. I don't think we'll be able to wrap our noggins around much until we figure out our own shit first, right? Right? Don't you think? Yeah. our truth. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, for me on my ride, the second I started to mature and grow and look back to that day, that whoever it was up on that rock looking at me. And then as I matured and watched and learned and watched and realized this is an absolute embarrassing shit show going on around us. The lies, the misleading, the deceit, 110%, man. As soon as you get slapped in the face with reality's beings, you do question everything. And if you don't, well, you're probably one of the walking dead, possibly. Dead between the ears, as far as I'm concerned. But that's okay. Whatever it takes. Whatever your ride is, it's your ride. Yeah, I don't know. I hope everything comes to a head before my ride's up. I want to learn everything. I want to watch this shit show go down. The amount of control, the evil darkness is amazing to me. It's amazing. I was referring to us last night in my deep conversations with a friend of mine, how I feel we're just the worker bees. The stage of the game. We are meant to be the worker bees. Right? This is titled, I don't know what I saw, but it may help the round table connect some dots. Hi Steve, I'm writing this from England, and I hope this email finds you well. I hope it finds you well too. You can go ahead and use my name, which is Adrian Lorem. I stopped giving a shit what people thought about me a long time ago. Right on, brother. I had a strange encounter in my hometown called Thetford in the county of Norfolk. It was in October of 2009, exactly 1 week before Halloween. I had grown up on the land that it took place on. I slowly watched over the years as it turned from farm, land and forest to a housing estate. It was on the outskirts of the town, closely located near other farmland and forest that was still in use. I've attached some satellite photographs from Google to give you some idea of the topography as it is today. I've also circled in red the area in which the event took place. Now, bear in mind, I grew up on this land. I fished this land. I built tree houses and dens in the forest, brought home every wounded wild animal I found, made my first bow here. It was every little boy's dream adventure playground. So it is fair to say I explore every nook and cranny and know every grain or dirt in a good 1.5 mile radius around my home. To give you some idea myself, I don't scare easily. I was completely skeptical. However, I would like to add open-minded to extreme possibilities. I'd heard all the supposedly true ghost stories from my parents and family over the years, repeated at every get-together. I've always dismissed them as overactive imaginations or embellished truths. I mean, if you want me to believe something, you have to present me evidence. I am a qualified mechanical engineer, so natural, my mind works scientifically with logic. Herein lies the problem. I just have not been able to get my head around what I saw on that fateful night. What happens when an unstoppable force hits an immovable object? It just did not make any sense until I saw one of your videos. I had not thought about this for a long time. However, I've watched your channel now for the last year or so. I caught one particular video recently where you mentioned somebody saw one of these beings with bold blue eyes. The memory of that night came rushing back. It gave me a cold chill and goosebumps up my neck. I had not ever considered that I could have possibly seen a Sasquatch over here in the UK. I thought it was unheard of. So anyways, here comes a description of what happened. As I said, it was October 2009, exactly a week before Halloween. I think it was a Friday, but don't hold me to that. I was making my way to work for the night shift at a courier company. I worked from midnight to 0830 hours, so it would have been about 2340 hours. If you look at the most zoomed in photo I sent, I walked down the pathway across the grass covered field. I added a red arrow so you can see my direction of travel. I entered the small belt of trees and turned left on a trail that the deer used to traverse the now urban environment. I knew the path well and was always at ease in the wooded areas even at night. In fact, I knew it so well that I was thinking I had to be aware that an old fence post nub was coming up. It stuck out about 6 inches of the ground and always tripped up anybody that walked with me that way. Sorry, guys. As I approached the area where this fence post nub was, I noticed a blue light further in the trees. I thought somebody had got overexcited and started to put their Christmas decorations up a little prematurely. From my perspective, it looked to be along the fence line into the back of the houses. I let out a little chuckle at myself in amusement, and that's when it dawned on me those were no Christmas lights. As I chuckled, the one light I saw turned into two. For some reason, I froze dead in my tracks. I mean, I was literally mid-step. My trailing foot was bent to the toes as I froze up. Location: I am the green dot zoomed in on in the map. Being was yellow dot on the map, inside the red circle. It wasn't out of fear that I froze. My mind was trying to comprehend what I was looking at. It was quite clearly two large aqua blue eyes staring at me from the fence line. The fence was 6 foot in height, and these eyes were easily 2 feet above that. How do I know these were eyes? Well, what must have been only a few seconds, but actually felt like minutes, I could make out the outline of what I thought was a hooded head and shoulders. Nothing at all below that. It was that dark in the wooded area, I couldn't make out any more detail. That hooded look could plausibly be due to having a conical-shaped head, as suggested by many who claim to see these forest people. It seemed to be peering over the fence when I disturbed it. Now, here's the important bit that absolutely blew my mind and left me running for my sanity's sake. Once I realized I was looking at something that was staring right back at me, fight or flight kicked in. The moment I thought, what the F am I going to do here? This being sunk down into the ground about 4 feet, then fell backwards and turned into a black mist that quickly dissipated. This took place in about 1 second of time from sinking to dissipating. At this point, I started to run towards my exit from the trees just a few meters away. I'll be damned if I didn't trip over that fence post nub and nearly fell completely over. Apparently this amused the being I just saw, because out of a bush about 3 feet away from me was like what I can only explain as a nasal snicker. Somebody makes you laugh when you have a drink in your mouth. Just like that, but very loud. I hightailed it out of there and was completely perplexed by what had happened. So, my conclusion is that, excuse me, if what I saw was a Sasquatch type creature, then that may give you and the round table some idea of how they are either appearing, disappearing, or traveling. I honestly do not know what I saw that night, and I've given the best description I can. Now, I never had considered it being a Sasquatch type creature until you mentioned the blue eyes. Since then, I have found that we have had numerous sightings of what they are calling the Thetford Wildman. These being documented for the last 50 years or more. Really? No shit, eh? Why had I not heard of it until now? It is obviously being suppressed. I have told a very few people what I saw that night. I'm usually shunned or ridiculed when I do. So it eventually ended up forgotten and locked away in the old memory bank. Well, that's my encounter. Please keep up the good service you're doing. Yes, that's right, Steve. You're doing a great service to the world. If the world had 100 more like you, then maybe we wouldn't be in such a shitty mess as a species. Very sincerely and respectfully, from a kindred spirit, Adrian Lorum. Adrian, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that generous chunk of time. Just looking at your photos here. There you go. So I don't know if I should load these. You guys, some of you guys are going to see this area for sure, but I have to load these on the editing program. I won't be able to show you like this on this camera because it's manually focused. See, if I go like that, it's not going to work out. There you go. Shunned and ridiculed, laughed at. Oh well. Doesn't matter about that. I haven't heard that wild man name referred to here yet, but we have had a lot of people from the UK are chiming in though, right? So, another strong pattern, right? Emails coming from the UK. But it's amazing how many academic type, getting back to the previous email before this one too, the science engineer, there's a lot of how do I say this? I'm not trying to be insulting. There's a lot of people who have gone a long ways in the education system, university, public school, leading to university afterwards, college, whatever, got a long ways and have received their human created and delivered credentials. Am I saying that the right way? Remember, my brain and my lips don't mesh up properly at times. But there's a lot of people who have had advanced education in the system come here and are listening to all of you here a lot. Why is that? Hopefully because they realize that your most honest knowledge, the real true knowledge, is going to be only from the people, right? From sharing stories. Just like the First Nations people before us on every continent, what happened? They all sat around and shared stories and passed the stories down. That was important. That was a huge important role. Sharing the stories with your community. That's what they did until something happened. Something happened where all those various cultures got suppressed, hammered on, shredded, and they stopped. Ultimately stopped those communities from sharing stories. Right? Right? Think about that one. But now we're sharing stories again. Just like the First Nations of various continents did for how many years? They shared stories, they passed on the knowledge. That's what we're doing. And I'm sorry, but what I'm getting at is how attractive this method of knowledge sharing is to everyone across the board, right? Around the world. It's interesting to watch, it's exciting to watch and learn the power of the voices of the people. Man, I'm babbling today. It's funny, I'll babble away and I post it up here and I haven't been kicked off of YouTube yet, so for being a dumbass. It's a ramble fest today. I sincerely hope that my brain and my mouth is meshing up today. Only you guys will be able to figure that one out because I'm posting it up anyway, whether I sound ridiculous or not. Now, there we go. Another blue-eyed version, which is fairly common, not that common, but we have had a lot of people share the blue-eyed thing. All right, listen to this. This is titled Algonquin Park, Ontario, Big. This is the title of this email. Great channel. Started following about a month ago. You can share my name if you want. I want to say I think you're doing justice for people that have had these experiences. I live in Ontario, Canada. For many years I've been going to Algonquin Park, portaging deep into the park, never really looking for evidence of Bigfoot. In 2015, on a 5-day trip, we pulled into a campsite. As we're unloading our gear, we hear a terrifying growling sound. Without hesitation, we got the hell out of there. I've always had an interest in Bigfoot. I think with all the evidence, why would they not exist? Maybe it was wolves fighting over food, I'm not sure. We didn't stick around to find out. In 2019, on another 6-day trip in Algonquin Park, we went out to take splake off the bucket list. We went our last 3 days on a lake that has splake. I guess that's a fish. It went well and crossed that species off the list. Anyhow, the day we were leaving, we packed up and crossed the lake to the portage. Once we got all our gear up to the path and the canoe, we decided to have a snack for energy, as we had a 2,100 meter portage. Alright, that means when you're portaging, it means to pack your canoe and all your belongings over land from one body of water through the forest to the next body of water and put your shit in the water again. That's what that means. Once we got all our gear up to the path and the canoe, we decided to have a snack for energy as we had a 21 meter portage. At this point you could see most of the lake and our sight was just straight across. For some reason, I don't know why, I looked over to our sight. I could not believe what I was looking at. A massive, hairy figure came out from behind the tree. It took a few steps and got behind another tree. It was looking at us from behind the tree. Only his head and part of his shoulder was visible. I didn't say a word to my buddy. His son was with us and I didn't want to freak him out. He was only 9 at the time and it was his second time coming on trips with us. I didn't want to ruin this experience for him and kept this to myself for 2 years. I just recently told my buddy what I saw. He asked, why didn't I say anything? Well, for one, I didn't want to scare your son, and I didn't think you would believe me. Thank you for what you do on your channel. You helped me actually talk to my buddy about it, and it actually took a load off my back. I'm not scared of them. I don't look for them either. I hope one day I do believe, with all the hard work you do, they will be recognized. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and be safe. All right, man. Appreciate that email. And you know, I always tell people to talk no matter what, but just then, this email, you made me think for a second. All right, well, true enough, you got a 9-year-old boy there. You don't want to ruin his frickin' life in the outdoors in the real world. So that's a very important point to take note of, right, you guys? It's a funny topic, experience, moment to dance around with in your brain to decide the right thing to do at the time. Obviously, right? It's a good point being made. What do? Do you point that out to that man and child sitting right there and possibly destroy that child's future in the real world? Do you possibly cause PTSD for someone? I don't know. I think maybe that possibly is the right thing to do. See it, take note, holy crap. And then go about slowly educating the young ones on the topic. So it's not just a smack in the face with shock. But then again, later on, would those people think, oh man, really? We just missed a 1 in a million opportunity to actually see one of those beings with our eyes? You should have told us. So there's that part too, right? Go with your gut. Go with your gut. Your gut will know what to do. That's for everybody. Your gut knows what to do, how to do it. Why isn't my charger working? Oh, well, I got enough juice left here. So many. Here's another one. 2 stories, one from Kentucky and one from Idaho. Hope I haven't read this. Hello, Steve. I have 2 true stories for you today. One is mine, and the other happened to someone I know. Let me start by saying, unlike most people who send you emails, I'm not an outdoorsman, hunter, or fisherman. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and the Kentucky side of Cincinnati. Now, I live in a tourism-driven beach city in Florida. The farthest I've been away from another human or from civilization was probably driving on the highway in Alabama on my way to Florida. I've driven that whole route. Needless to say, I haven't spent much, if any, time in remote areas. My story happened in Ellesmere, Kentucky when I was 12 or 13, about 9 years ago. Let me first say, Ellesmere, Kentucky is a suburban, honestly pretty ghetto, neighborhood, and you can drive to downtown Cincinnati in 10 minutes if there's no traffic. This will tie into my story. Here it goes. My friend / neighbor was staying the night at my house. There's a small creek called Bullock Pen Creek at the bottom of the hill I lived on. It runs through suburbs until draining out into a lake. It's pretty hidden by trees on both sides, and you wouldn't know it. It was there unless someone showed you. My friends and I would often explore this creek in the middle of the night just for fun. This night was in the summer, and the moon was shining bright. My friend and I messed around in the creek, as usual, then proceeded to make our way back up the hill. The entrance to the creek that we used was in somebody's backyard, and we were walking through their yard and back to my house. I looked behind me and saw what I thought it was the silhouette of a large man standing in the entrance that we just came from. I now realize it wasn't a silhouette because the moonlight was shining on him. And it was actually just a large, black, human-shaped figure. I didn't notice this at the time because as soon as I noticed it, I looked away and tried to make it look like I didn't see them because I thought it was a man trying to sneak up on us and didn't want him knowing I saw him. There's no commas in this. I had my hand on my knife ready to slice the MFer to hell and back, and I didn't tell my friend so it wouldn't scare him. As we made our way back up the hill with houses on each side of us, we continuously hear a single high-pitched whistle every 10 to 30 seconds coming from behind the houses to the left of us, and it seemed to follow us up the hill. And we even heard it once outside the window once we got back inside. I've heard this whistling behind the houses before, but never thought much of it. Honestly, never thought much of that situation until I started thinking about it again recently. The strange thing to me is, if this was Sasquatch, not saying it was, then how and why the hell did it get to a suburban neighborhood outside of a huge city? Definitely possible to stay hidden traveling in the woods from a rural area to where we were, but it doesn't seem to make sense. This reminded me of another time. Two of my lifelong friends who are brothers, known them since we were 7, also said they saw a, quote, Yeti, end quote, at the exact same entrance as they're walking up the hill and through the person's backyard, just as me and the other friend were. This was in the winter, and they said it was white or covered with snow. They seemed genuinely scared, and I believed them. This also reminded me of the neighborhood legend of the, quote, banshee, end quote, that lived in the creek due to the strange high-pitched screams people would often hear coming from down there. It's all kind of starting to come together, isn't it? Now for the second story. This is told to me by my manager earlier today. He's the second highest up manager in the building and a very genuine and honest person. He grew up in Washington and Idaho. So today I said, quote, "You're from the Northwest, right?" End quote. He says yes. So I casually asked, "Have you ever seen Bigfoot out there?" To which he very casually replied, "I have actually." So of course I asked him what happened. He said that one night they were camping near an old silver mining town in Idaho. I believe he said Frog Town or something that sounded like that. He said that all night something was throwing golf ball to tennis ball sized rocks at their tent. That's big rocks. And just general area. And one hit his cousin in the head. They didn't think much of it. They didn't think much of it, said not too many people, right? The next day they were out hiking and walked into a huge clearing with a tree line surrounding. He said they looked across the meadow, and at the other side was a huge Bigfoot. And he said it was the most terrifying experience of his life, and that he hasn't actually told anybody. Keep in mind, we were in the middle of work and there was other associates walking by, so this is pretty brief. I didn't get the chance to ask him many details, like what color it was, if he got a good look at it, or what happened after he saw it. Let me know if you'd like me to ask him for more details. I know these aren't the most colorful or exciting stories, but every story counts. Yes, they do. Every single one counts. And it just goes to show how many people have really experienced these beings. I only asked him because I remember you saying to just ask around. You'd be surprised how many people have come in contact with them. Right? Considering he's the first person I asked, I was pretty surprised, but also not at the same time, considering I've fully accepted the fact these beings are living beside us. Thank you for everything you do, Steve, and feel free to share this if you'd like. Thank you for your time. Blank, blank. Okay, blank, blank. Send this video to your manager. Let him know that there is literally hundreds of thousands of people in the world today around him who've seen the same thing and they're demanding answers, all right? And we're all here in one big happy family. Safe place. It was a pretty long one. I'm going to do one more. Uh-oh. I'm going to do this. I'm going to share one more. Yeah, make sure you share. Share the video with your manager. And hopefully that person will email us at sharemystory@howtohunt.com and share up their knowledge with us. Alright, one more. I think I'm going to get ripping. This is titled Dirt Biking. Hi, my son turned me on to your site. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I'm not sure when you lost Mac, as the videos do not show up in chronological order, but as a past horse owner, my dad had a horse named Mac, and that was my son's favorite. Feel your pain. Alright, thanks. That was a while ago now. This may be long, but I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I grew up in a very small town in northwest Colorado. I grew up hunting, fishing, snowmobiling, and remote camping, using only horses, while enjoying God's world. Thank you for saying we're all part of this wilderness, as we are. I too am tired of the lack of common sense and bullshit. My experience happened when I was around 12 years old, We had an old, tiny camper that we could take out to the beautiful wilderness, which also served as our playhouse and sat by the horse corral on our ranch. My parents used to foster kids, and I was in the camper with our foster brother and my younger sister. We were sitting at a tiny table, coloring in our coloring books. Excuse me. We were probably coloring for 30 minutes or more when the camp trailer, probably 12 feet long, began to shake so violently that our crayons rolled off the table and was rolling back and forth on the floor of the camper, literally rolling from wall to wall. We heard a loud scraping from underneath the trailer as this was happening. My father is quite a jokester, and I felt he was probably messing with us. The fear started when I looked out the window and saw both of my parents and my 2 other siblings up by the shed. The violent shaking was still occurring. I was wondering if one of the horses had gotten out. Nope, I could see all of them in the corral with no ability to reach the camper. The crayons were still rolling back and forth from wall to wall, and all I knew was that I had to get out. As a 12-year-old girl, I was not thinking of my sister or my foster brother. I threw the door open, and I can remember the trailer shaking back and forth violently. I jumped out as far as I could and ran up to my parents about 100 yards away, screaming that something was trying to attack us. My little sister and stepbrother were not far behind. My dad came down to the camper and looked everywhere. There were no marks in the trailer, and he said it must have been a skunk or raccoon. I'm telling you, it was not a small animal. As the trailer shook so violently, I didn't think my dad could have even done that. He's 6'3", 220. Fast forward many years. I was a police officer for 12 years, then became a paramedic firefighter for the past 18. Like I said, I grew up hunting and working in male-dominated jobs. I'm not a sissy girl by any means. I never believed in ghosts until my own experiences that are not suitable for this conversation. But my oldest son has a 6th sense. He's seen the dead since he was old enough to talk. I won't go into these stories, but I want to relay what happened to him a few weeks ago. Wow, that's interesting. He's an avid hunter and dirt bike rider. He's in an area about an hour from where we live, riding his dirt bike. Alone, which drives me crazy, but he's 19 and I can't coddle him or tell him what to do. Good for you. Let him grow up to be men, right? It was dusk and he was in an area with a lot of pine and quaky trees. Remote with a pretty legit 4x4 road, one way in and back. He explained he could see all the trees and their shadows, but it was starting to get dark with no direct sunlight. He said he was going about 30 to 40 miles per hour, hauling ass for a dirt bike on a technical trail, when he saw what he thought was a huge, wide tree and a shadow across the trail. Suddenly the shadow moved and realized that what was casting the shadow was huge and definitely was not a human or animal. He elk hunts, has seen wildlife his whole life. Immediately, all of his hair stood on end. He called me and said, "Mom, I don't know how to explain what happened. This thing put his thoughts into my mind. It screamed at me to get out." I refused to look at it or slow down. I hit the gas and probably went faster than was safe. I just knew I had to leave the area immediately. This conversation was when he told me about your site. Since he's gotten back, he had been researching what this thing could have been, and because of you, has been educated on what is out there. Are they tied to the spiritual world? I don't know. I do know there is something bigger than us out there. Endo email, and yes there is, and are they tied to the spiritual world? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. They're not rotting monkeys migrating and surviving off fish and berries. They aren't. But anyway. Another member of the Club of No Return arrives, right? I wonder how many people are in this club. What's your guess? Has it done hundreds of thousands? Is it in the millions? Is every single human being on the face of the planet a club member and just doesn't know it yet? Who knows? Anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com. I think this is probably a long one. I don't know. It feels like I've been in here a little while. So what do we go over today? The 4 generals, Canadian military generals, being dismissed with sexual misconduct charges because they wouldn't accept the forced poison in their body. We covered that. Also, what else? Your thoughts on the collaboration, inserting a collaboration video into my videos to receive that remote power creating item for my remote trip. I should probably do it, right? I'll email them back today. And what else? I'm not sure if Melba watches my videos daily or not. Probably not. She's so loaded up with information, it's crazy. I'm racing in to get my NDA to her right now. So the first thing I'm going to do, make sure it gets done. And then what am I going to do? Got to do my laundry. Visit, get stuff done around here, spend time with everyone, and then I'm going to leave tomorrow evening to go back to the boat to guide. And we are going to have Jeff, our friend from where I was previously living, who blew himself up, and his son. And his son is at a face-to-face. And maybe, possibly, his son will share with us what he experienced, and maybe he will share with us if he has spoken, and many of his schoolmates have had experiences too, because that is right in the heart of the most activity I know of in BC firsthand. And he goes to school with a lot of First Nations kids too, so who knows what he knows. We're going to find out, and hopefully catch him a bunch of fish. There you go. My babble is over for today. And I'm sure many of you are going, thank God. Right? All right. Back shortly.